what I'm looking for is, so we're in an interesting time right now. I've just released a couple videos and we've talked about, we started asking the questions, why are some of these high flying companies that, mostly tech, that have been reporting such great earnings, why have they been beaten up so much in the past couple weeks? And what seems to be doing well are financials, anything related to the homes.
Dividend payers.
Dividend payers, more value type things. There's definitely been a rotation out into value that we're seeing. So what I'm looking at is Home Depot reports earnings on Tuesday, and they are scheduled to report them before the market opens. As I'm looking at the Home Depot earnings, investors are expecting increase in sales of about 25%. And so Home Depot is riding a red hot housing market right now. And the fever for home remodeling is crazy. And if I look at things like some of the things we're selling, like lumber, which is through the roof, I'm interested to see. Home Depot has had quite a run in the past couple months up to where it is now. Fantastic company. I'll be looking to see how they report, if they can keep that momentum going. Everything to me appears that that's going to be the case. Home Depot's making a lot of investments there. They opened up 2 giant facilities in Florida. One of the reasons for that is to serve as kind of distribution hubs so that they can have quicker delivery of online sales. I'll be interested to see if Lowe's is able to close that gap. So if I look at the profit margin between those two companies, Home Depot has a profit margin of around 14% and Lowe's is at 11%. Will Lowe's be able to close that gap? Lowe's actually began to close the gap a little bit last quarter. I guess we'll see if that is just a temporary spike or if that's something that's going to be more long-term. I think both companies are great to own. In my mind, Home Depot is an A+ and Lowe's is maybe an A- or B+. And if maybe you wanted to get more bang for your buck, potentially Lowe's might be there. I don't know. I think both are great companies to own. I think they're in great spaces. I think the housing market is leaning into everything that they are. I think as people get their stimulus checks, they're going to continue to put money back into their homes. So I'm going to be interested to see how Home Depot does. But the other thing I'm looking at is I think that if tech continues to face the headwinds that it's facing now, I think we're going to have, you and I talked last week, I think we're going to have some tremendous buying opportunities, even better than what we've seen last week when Apple dropped down to 122 or whatever it did. In some of these companies, if we continue to see pressure on these companies, I think there are going to be some prices that are available that we'll look back 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we'll think, man, remember when we could have bought Apple for $122?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's crazy. And like going back to Home Depot, it'll be an interesting case study because it had also had like a tremendous run in 2020. So if it like has a great earnings or a great earnings report and it pulls back, then we would kind of assume that it's like the multiples that are causing strife among investors. But
right.
If it's like if they continue to run, then maybe it's more so like the inflation fears that are causing like the tech names to pull back. And then also throw in the fact that they have a dividend, but they're also a growth. So yeah, it'll be a really interesting case study.
That is a very astute observation. That I think that's right on the money. And so maybe that will help kind of be a bellwether to see companies like that. So next week we have Home Depot. I believe we have basically a lot of the big retail. We've got Home Depot, we've got Lowe's, we've got Walmart, we've got Target, all reporting earnings. So, and a lot of those companies are right up the alley of similar to a Home Depot in the sense that, yeah, they've got some growth to them, but they're dividend payers and they're kind of that, walking that line between value and growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to like create a stock in a lab that you would want to own, like it's hard to find a better one than Home Depot, like, cause it's like solid growth and it still pays a dividend. And then it's just like, they make physical stuff. Like there's something about that where you make physical stuff where it's like
right.
You might get dinged on profit margins because of for all the reasons that having physical stuff, you would have lower profit margins than if you were like doing something that was super scalable like software. But I mean, it's hard to come up with a better company to own than Home Depot. There's a reason I think a lot of, it's gonna slip my mind, but one of the big either private equity firms or hedge funds, like one of the big Wall Street investor guys has Home Depot as a significant holding in his portfolio. I forget who it is though.
Because how wrong can you be?
I know. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So what about you? What are you looking for in the market?
I mean, looking back, because we're recording this on Sunday, there's kind of a battle between Elon Musk and the Bitcoin community, not the crypto community, but the Bitcoin community especially, where he said that because of environmental reasons, he's looking to, or they stopped offering. You can't buy a Tesla with Bitcoin anymore, but that doesn't seem to be founded data. It seems to be some other reason why he said that, because if you look at the data, I think there's been multiple studies that show like 70% of crypto or 70% of Bitcoin mining comes from renewable energy, which I mean, it still has a huge carbon footprint just because of the scale of it, but it just doesn't seem like him to not be as pragmatic in his actions. So it's interesting to see how that will play out. And then, I mean, Bitcoin's corrected quite a bit, so I wonder if he's even talked about maybe selling some of his position. So, I mean,
do you think there's something? Do you think there's some underlying reason to this? Like, is there something that maybe somebody rubbed him the wrong way, or does he just like being an influencer in the sense that let's face it, when he came out and said that we're buying $1 billion of Bitcoin, I mean, it was a big move, and it moved it, and people thought, man, Elon Musk is behind this. And then he came out and with his tweets about Dogecoin, is he somebody that just likes to kind of shake things up a bit?
I mean, that could be the case. He's kind of hard to pin down because like think about like all of the crazy shit he does, and then normal people want to or expect him to act like a normal person. It's like you're not going to get the guy that puts rockets on Mars, completely reinvents electric cars, dig tunnels under Los Angeles, and then get him to act normally. It's like that's a special kind of person, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be a lot of different things that work, but I mean, who am I to comment on his brain? But I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.